everybody, it's Carrie with Creatively Carrie. Happy Earth Day today. I was able to be out in my yard for a little bit today, so that was awesome. Got to be outside and sharing in the nature that is my backyard. But today I wanted to go back to our sketchbooks again, where I'm hoping to make every Wednesday a sketchbook day. So we're going to talk something about sketchbooks. And at any time, if you guys have questions or you want me to address something about sketchbooks or sketching or drawing or anything like that, let me know and I will be happy to put that in my tutorials so that we make sure that you guys are getting what it is you need. So for today, I was going to talk about how we go about creating textures in our drawings, okay, in our sketchbooks. So I'm going to talk about texture and using lines and how we use those lines to make something look like something. So in other words, on my little book here, I have texture, okay, and I have 6 little squares for today's demonstration, and each one has a label. So this is a burlap, this is dots, this is fur. I put a cactus here because I think this one is kind of fun. I'll show you what it kind of looks like using just lines. And then of course, this is just lines. So I just want to show you how lines can create texture. And then this one is circles. So how we would use circles. Okay. So I'm going to pull my camera over my sketchbook here, and I will be hopefully showing you guys the different textures that I'm doing in each of these little sections of my sketchbook. So the first thing I was going to talk about was like a burlap sack. So if you wanted to show texture or show in your drawing the burlap sack, it's called crosshatching, and so you would take a set of lines, okay, and you're going to place them very close to each other, the same length, okay. You can add a few more and some thin spaces there. And then I'm going to go across that, so hence the word, the term cross-hatching. So I'm going to go the opposite direction, and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. Now, cross-hatching is also an excellent way to show fabric, and it just because you can see the lines in it become woven. So if you get a kind of an up close little look there, you can see how the cross hatching gives it texture, like you want to feel it, like you kind of want to touch it or rub it. Okay, so that is one way to show texture. Now you can get these lines even closer to each other, as close as you need to make it really dense in there. So that's kind of really cool what you can do with cross hatching. Now, the more lines you do, also the darker it's going to feel. Okay, so you can also show dark and light. You can do shadowing with your cross hatching. So it's really, really cool. So my next little compartment here, my little square, it has the word dots in it, and dots is another term for pointillism, and what that means is you would use little points or dots to fill something in and give it texture. This is I like using my points or my dots to create things that are very organic. You could do it with flowers. You can do gravel. I'm just going to be going into a circle shape here, and you can get faster. You can make them smaller, and you can just keep doing dots. Now, that's also how our printers work, by putting little dots of ink, and the closer they are together, the darker a color is, or the more dense it is. So I'm going to do a couple here. I'm going to show you one where my points, my dots are farther apart, and one where they are very close to each other. And you can see how it changes the texture or look or feel of each one of these. So one is much more dense, could be if you're trying to produce a shadow by using dots, you just want to get them as close to each other and as thick as you can. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up. So these are each done with dots, just using dots with my pencil to create some interesting little fun texture there. Okay. All right, so we have cross-hatching or burlap, and we have dots or pointillism. And then we're going to talk about fur. So whenever you're drawing animals, and particularly animals with, say, long hair, you're going to do a single line, and you're going to start at one point, and then you're just going to really quickly pull and almost flick with the wrist. And then again, the more you overlap them, the closer you get those lines together, the thicker it will appear. And I'll show you some spread out over here. Okay. If you had, say, an animal you were doing with shorter hair, well, these lines aren't going to be that as long, right? They're just going to be little short ones, and you can build it on top of each other like that. Just smaller, closer lines. Okay. So that's a really good way to show fur and to show the direction that fur goes. You always want to draw in that direction. So that's another tip for when you're drawing fur on animals. You want to make sure that you're drawing it in the direction that the hair normally grows. Okay, all right. So we have cross-hatching, we have pointillism, and we have fur lines. Okay, so this little box down here says cactus, and what I'm actually going to do here is I am going to draw a cactus looking kind of little shape, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some vertical lines. And what that does is those vertical lines represent each piece of the cactus that comes to a point or a line. And then they have a valley, and then they come back up again. So I'm just going to represent the cactus with some lines. Okay? And then periodically I'm going to just come in and I'm going to put some little spikes on these lines to represent the thorns or the pricklies in your cactus. Okay, so once again, we're using line here to show the textures, the mountains and the valleys in our little cactus here. And I'll bring this closer to you so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so just another nice, easy way to show the texture in cactus, and using small lines to represent the thorns. Okay, and so as probably most of you are familiar with, lines, no matter how they're drawn, can evoke texture, can show emotion. So if I have a section of straight lines that is extremely linear, this is going to represent geometric type shapes, right? But if I have lines that are curved, this can represent something extremely organic like water. Okay, so you're going to get a completely different feeling with each of these two lines. The same goes for the cross-hatching. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do a little wave here. And what it's doing is, again, you can obviously feel the difference in your line here and how it evokes softness rather than geometric shapes. Okay. And then finally, I have circles. Okay. Now, circles, again, can be done in several different ways. You can do spirals. You can do single circles that interlock. But one of the best ways to demonstrate circles is when you're drawing hair. Okay, so we're going to start out with an organic curved line, but then at the bottom, or wherever it's going to be, kind of flowing out, okay. Another great way to show hair, especially hair that is really thick and has a lot of volume to it, is just continuous random circles. That can look something like that. Okay, so all of these are really simple ways to take lines and create something fun and different. So next Wednesday, I'm going to keep up with the sketchbook, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have a picture where I'm going to implement some of these items for you guys so you can actually see how you would use them in a sketch. Okay, so I will have that prepared for next week, and then if you guys want to come and hang out with me and talk about sketching and approaching any problems that you may have or things that you want to address, you have questions about, we will do that, and we can have a sit down, a Q&A, and just talk about the different textures that we can provide in our sketches when we're sketching. All right, so I'm gonna bring you guys back up. There we are. So again, sketchbook. So some of the things we've been doing in the sketchbook is our shading tutorial that we did last week. And then now our texture, how we're using line to create textures and showing different feelings in our paintings or our drawings and sketches. And then on Wednesday, we're going to implement that into an actual sketch in our sketchbook. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you joining me. I hope you learned something today. Hope you have fun. Grab yourself a little piece of paper and sketch and just practice. Just draw lines. Just make things up. Because it's kind of fun to do some doodling, and then you can always put some colored pencil in there and add it and spruce it up a little bit. So, all right, guys, so once again, thanks for joining me. Happy Earth Day, and I hope to catch you guys next Wednesday at 3. All right, bye, guys. See ya.